I had started listening to The Weeknd because I had reacted to D'Angelo Wallace's After Hours reaction of that whole album, and I fell in love with it. This was around 2020 when COVID was around, and this was like the most stressful period of my life, you know, that I can remember, because if you've listened for long enough, you know I've blocked out an absolute fuck ton of my life. But discovering The Weeknd, especially, and just R&B and dark fucking music was like a huge help to me during those years. And if I spend too long without listening to music, like my aunt had bought me AirPods or whatever for Christmas, right? And then she'd bought them off Refurbed, and they were bollocks acting. So those couple of months where I didn't have AirPods, I was kind of going through it a lot more mentally, because my main regulator, e.g. music, wasn't there to comfort me. You know, like, do you know the way most people are like relying on their friends and their family and be like, oh, I'm going through something? I was more like, Mr. Abel Tesfaye, let me listen to Trilogy for the trillionth time. You know, and a lot of times I'm having a bad day, I ignore everyone's messages and I just listen to music, you know. And I've tried looking up the whole fucking logic and reason behind it, but what I learned is that it's kind of like it somehow triggers a reward thing in your brain, and basically thinks if you're advancing your life or whatever because you're listening to music, and that's the logic behind it. But honestly, I don't give a fuck about the logic as long as it makes me feel good and doesn't have any negative effects. Maybe my hearing is like not good, and maybe I have too much of a dependency on music, and maybe if someone tried to steal my AirPods I'd like fucking try to kill them altogether. But who gives a fuck? And like low-key, it kind of pains me right now. A big reason why I don't upload as much as I want to is for the pure reason that I can't listen to music, and I have such a dependency to music, you know. And my music taste slowly has started to change, but The Weeknd will always have a place in my heart. You'll never catch me being one of these bitches, oh I love Pink Floyd, oh I love AC/DC. You'll never catch me being one of those. Hey listen, me and my fuckboy R&B till the death of time, you know. If a woman is not being manipulated in the song, then why are you even listening to it? I'm really trying to reconnect with my whole looking at nature, having deep thoughts, and just fucking, you know, listening to some music, you know. And I don't know what the fuck is going on in my life, but I'm actually starting to fucking heal. And there's reasons for that, but listen, and there's signs of that, but I'm not going to go into that because that's none of your fucking business, to keep it real. Oh, actually, I tried Red Bull. Oh, that's good shit. That's some fucking good shit. Right? I've always been a fucking monster girl. And then I was at the gym. My friend who's like family to me, she had a white Red Bull, and then I took a swig of it. And I was like, oh my god, this tastes good. And it pisses me off even more than Celsius, right? Because it tastes better than Celsius. And there's even like 250 ml. And it costs maybe the same / more than fucking than a Monster, you know. But hey, because honestly I need to switch away from Monster because I'm just like so addicted to it or whatever. And yeah, and I'm absolutely obsessed with this jacket because my friend, who's actually like a brother to me, he gave it to me. And people don't really give me shit, you know. And he gave me this jacket, which has like which had like he wore for years or whatever, and it meant a lot to me, you know. And it's just little shit like that. It's like when I look at drinks like these, I always associate energy drinks or the type of drink someone likes to associate with them. Like I'll associate a white Monster with some people. I'll associate a Celsius with a girl I used to be friends with. I'll associate original Monster Zero Sugar to someone I used to be friends with, so that's kind of still I'm friends with. And And then some people, they don't have, I'll associate other shit to them, you know. Like, my best friend, I'll always think of him as the number one Pink Floyd fan, even though he doesn't really listen to Pink Floyd like that. So every time someone's loves that kind of like oldish fucking music, I'm always like, oh, Pink Floyd. I want to be like an inspiration of some sort to kids or whatever going through difficult situations, being like, yeah, you know, you can get out of it. And you can be weird as fuck, but you know, you can be a semi-decent person. You know. A very good friend of mine, we were on like a bus to a trip somewhere, and we had this whole deep ass conversation, and she said, Nisha, I don't know how the fuck you're a good person, considering your parents taught you nothing and your mum is like inherently evil. And you're the reason I believe that some people are just born good. You know? And a lot of people who don't understand me necessarily, they have a lot of very like wrong interpretations of me because I'm such a complex person. Not like, I might as well get my dick out and start stroking it right now, but you know what I mean? Like, I am very complex. I do have a lot of issues. I do have a lot of layers, and I do have a lot of issues, right? And I'm very aware of that. And because of all those three things combined, it is very hard for some to understand me. But sometimes people will compliment me in a way that I'm nearly fucking there kicking my feet blushing. You know? Like, today I was talking to a friend, and he was like, and his mother had seen me walk down from work or whatever, and she kind of knows a bit about my home life or whatever. And then she had said, like, oh, Nisha, you know, she has everything she has because of herself, you know. And one thing I am really happy about is I got rid of my old phone, you know, because that was the last thing that tied me to my mother. It was the 12 mini, the battery was fucked and the screen was fucked, and it was on its last legs anyway. But, well, that's a bit dramatic. It didn't have enough gigabytes for me to film these podcast styles and long videos, and it just didn't have, I was kind of sick of the phone. And then I've started working part-time, and I had made the decision to myself, I do want to take this YouTube thing more seriously. So I was like, listen, I'll buy a new phone, I'll actually properly take care of it, and I have 256 gigabytes now. But that was the final thing my mum had, like my final tie to my mother. And I could have sold it, but like I didn't really see a point. I was like, do you know what? I gave it to a friend's little brother, and he now has his first iPhone. So, I'm just such a nice person. Please praise me for my good deed. You know, but I don't know. Alright, listen. If you've had a shitty Android like I've had, you'll understand the pain. Like, I was like, do you know what? The kid's good. You know, I was like, fuck it. He can have it. You know. Plus, that's probably a relief off the parents, you know, because he would have had to get a new phone anyway soon enough, so, you know. Let's see how long my Bandex 12 mini can last him. Yeah. I don't like when other people can take credit for shit that I did for myself. You know? I don't like when anyone uses the words, I helped raise you. I don't like that shit. Because, to be honest with you, the reason I am who I am is from birth to around 15. You know? Like, there's people I can thank, and there is people who have had a big influence on me, and who have honestly saved my fucking arse sometimes. You know? But I don't like that some people, they credit themselves too much for my journey. You know? Like, there's some people right now, if I start talking about them, I will genuinely put my balls on the table and be like, I honestly don't think I would be alive if I didn't have this person, or if this person didn't do this. But I think my dad credits himself way too much for, I sent you money, I sent you this, because to be fair to him, I actually do believe him when he does say I was sending money through the post. I do believe him when he says I was sending parcels. But like, I was still getting starved. I was still getting the shit beat out of me. My life was horrific back then. You know, I used to lock myself up in my room, And I think the longest you would see me outside my room is 2 minutes maximum. And I would only leave it for those periods of time if everyone in the house except my disabled sister was awake. You know? And I think a big reason why I really do appreciate nature is whenever my mum would kick off and stuff happened, I used to just run to the fields. We had like fields to the left of our house, and if you look at my community tab and you scroll down far enough, we had this like bridge that was near our house, and it was very much so a safe place for me. You know? If only I had mobile data, I wouldn't have showed up at home, to be honest. I probably could have got away with sleeping out in those fucking fields, to be honest with you. I probably should have. If I could go back in time, I would redo some of my actions about my childhood, but that kid did the best they fucking could. You know? And I don't know. I think back about me as a child and me when I was like 8, 9, 10-ish, 11-ish. And I was like, what a fucking trooper, man. It still pisses me off people don't be putting respect to my fucking name. You know, that shit kind of pisses me off, because I don't know if my trauma made me inherently masculine in some aspects. Definitely my personality, it wouldn't be the most feminine. Like, I'm not like fucking, I'm not saying I'm a fucking alpha male here, even though I do joke about it sometimes, but I don't know if it's inherently a masculine trait to want to be respected over being soothed. But I suppose that's the interpretation that a lot of people have, you know. And of course, I made a lot of mistakes with all my pain that was going on. But like, at the end of the day, I'm fucking human. I did fuck up. I had so much on my plate, you know. And what I've had said about me multiple times is, Nisha, I've never met anyone like you. Thing is, my weirdness and my uniqueness was something that was so weaponized against me for years. Naturally speaking, I'm very energetic, and it was my mom and my sister, my middle sister, used to always be, oh, you're too fucking energetic, why do you have so much energy and all this? And then when I was sad, how dare I be sad? And then when I was angry, how could you do this to me? Why are you attacking me? You know? I think my mother would be horrified if she saw who I was today. Because I've become such a respectful person, and the amount of jealousy she had about me even back then. So I can only imagine how the jealousy she'd have towards me now. You know? And I've already mentioned this in multiple videos, but I reconnected with people from my primary school, Lovey Shaylas, and they had told me that my mum had ran into their mother around a year ago, and the timeline is I haven't lived with my mum for 2 years, and I haven't spoken to her for around 2.5 years. And my mother went bad-mouthing me, pretending I was still living with her. Oh, Nisha's running away all the time. Nisha's dyeing her hair. Nisha's doing this. Nisha's doing that. Nisha's so rebellious. You know? And that's the type of shit that I love. That's the type of shit I feed off of. You know? Like, I think I do like haunting people. And that's like a toxic confession of mine. You know? And listen, I think I've fixed a lot of my toxic tendencies and stuff like that, but there's just some level of kick I get when I'm like, oh, someone misses me. And you'll even see it in my face. You know? But inherent, I've kind of calmed down a bit. Now, I don't really give a fuck about haunting friends. I used to really love that shit. But like with friends, not really as much. But like on the romantic scale, like when it ends, I'm a toxic dickhead. But I'm trying to be better, and I'm trying to heal those type of wounds. Like I'm trying to heal the wounds that cause all my toxic tendencies. You know, like I can try to put a band-aid over the problem and do this and do that and do that, but you gotta fix the actual root. You know, because I think inherently I feel as though I'm unlovable. So when someone misses me and I see those like desperate eyes and someone's desperately trying to talk to me, it's a reminder that I'm fucking great. You know, but the thing is, I shouldn't need other people to fill the void I have of feeling unlovable. You know, I should fill that void myself. You know, I feel like a lot of people, they're always jumping in and out of relationships because they need a void filled. You know, and I feel like they could be with a partner for around 2 years. That partner is filling 80% of their void. But then they look at someone who's filling that extra remaining 20%. You're like, oh, I'm going to switch shift. I'm going to swap shifts. Ships. Yeah, ships. And then, yeah. I don't know. I kind of view myself as a swan type of person, you know. I suppose that's why my friend, she said I'm a bit of a heartbreaker, but like my thing is, right, it isn't my fault they weren't good enough for me. You know, I view myself as a swan. You know, I kind of view myself as a mate once type of person, you know, kind of like the way swans only like have one partner their whole life. You know, and I'm not going to go that extreme with it. I probably will have multiple long-term partners. But I don't see the point of having a superficial short-term relationship because that fills a void of mine. You know? I want to be in a relationship because I choose for that. You know, I don't want to be in a relationship because my past history, my past trauma tells my brain, oh my god, my feelings, oh my god, I need to be in a relationship, oh my god, I love them so much. But the reality is, do I actually love them? Or do I love how they make me feel? You know, because when I think about a lot of situations in the past I had, I loved how they made me feel. I didn't actually love them as a person. And sometimes, honestly, I am a selfish piece of shit sometimes. Like, when I do really care about someone and when I do really love someone, I'm very selfless. But till I get to the point, I'm a low-key selfish piece of shit. And that's something I'll put my balls on the table to say it. Like generally, my best friend, my Shayla, my chosen family, the Hungarian girl, new person, and yeah, like I'm not I say I'd be very selfless towards them. Like I would have great intentions towards them, but like there's sometimes where I think back at old friendships I had. And honestly, I think we were both using each other in the sense where it's like, I was trying to help them with their lives the whole time, because then I felt it was kind of trying to recreate the codependent relationship I had with my mother, you know. And strangely enough, whenever I act anxiously attached, something bad always happens, you know. But I'm starting to act anxiously attached, but nothing bad is happening. So that is a mental dilemma that I will face soon. And the caffeine is starting